There was a lot of speculation when Mary Tyler Moore was going off the air that she was going to marry Lou Grant in the final episode.
We just thought we'd fool around a little. After presenting this woman for 7 years as being a single woman, enjoying life, not being ashamed at being single, what a strange way to negate those 7 years of presenting herself as a wonderful human being without having to be married. I lusted for her, I must say, and wanted her. But
off camera or as your Lou Grant character?
Both.
Stardom is what it's all about, and our guest this week is a man who is a household name, Mr. Ed Asner.
You've seen me sell Ajax every night.
Well, you've been selling Lou Grant and picking up a few Emmys for the past few years, and you're going to continue playing Lou Grant in an hour non-comedy show, I understand.
No, there'll be comedy in it. And I just realized the other day that since we are averse to indulging in cops and robbers, since it's a journalistic show, I realized that where we can instill and install comedy, that this can serve as our supplanter of violence and or action. And I think it's a good supplant.
Program called Hennessy that used to deal in drama, never used a laugh track, but yet had a lot of human comedy in it.
Right.
Is that the sort of feel you'll be looking for?
Well, we certainly won't have a laugh track. And I hope we have the integrity of Hennessy, which was a fine show.
Do you have a lot of say-so on the scripts that have been coming through?
Little me? No, because we have such phenomenal producer-writers. Alan Burns and Jim Brooks, who created Mary Tyler Moore, are our executive producers, along with Gene Reynolds, who came over from MASH.
Oh, what a lineup.
We have a phenomenal lineup, coupled with our executive story editor, who is Leon Tokachin, who did some of the most instrumental work on The Senator. So,
Hal Holbrook's great series.
Yeah.
Had you done any work with Reynolds before?
No.
No. What do you feel about him?
The man has exhaustively researched the format of our show. Spent months and months at the LA Times, the Oakland Tribune, some time at the LA Examiner, and is on his third course at UCLA. I understand that he spent two tours of duty in Korea just as backgrounding himself for MASH.
Today we're talking with a man who has appeared with Elvis Presley. In a couple of films, he's probably not noted for that, but in a 1969 movie, Ed Asner co-starred with Elvis Presley and Mary Tyler Moore.
Romance beyond their bounds and the madness of our times.
We were both in the movie, but we didn't work with each other, so I never saw her.
When did you meet her then?
Not until I went up for my second reading for the Mary Tyler Moore show.
Your second reading, they didn't like you the first time?
Oh, that was just with them. The second reading was to get me together with Mary.
So you had done so much drama before. Was it difficult to play comedy?
I had put it at the back of my garage, and under the administrations of Alan Burns and Jim Brooks, Jay Sandrich, our primary director, and a phenomenal cast I worked with. Over the years, I revivified my former expertise. See, I had done a lot of comedy on the stage. I had stayed away from it in film, and I had never been secure with it. So in my initial 9 years in California, I didn't seek it out. It didn't pay that much money to be a guest on a half-hour comedy show. And we were in hopes of scoring big hit in drama. So something happened in those 9 years whereby it was easy for me to acquire the security in comedy that I hadn't had before.
There was a lot of speculation when Mary Tyler Moore was going off the air that she was going to marry Lou Grant in the final episode.
We just thought we'd fool around a little.
But if your character, Lou Grant, hadn't been continued in your new program, do you think the possibility could have could have really happened and you and Mary could have gotten together?
I had thought that might have been the case, but Alan Burns said the other day, and it's a very good point, after presenting this woman for 7 years as being a single woman, enjoying life, not being ashamed at being single, what a strange way to negate those 7 years of presenting herself as a wonderful human being without having to be married. And what a silly way to bring them together at the end. I lusted for her, I must say, and wanted her. But
off camera or as your Lou Grant character?
Both. I must say that I think it's a very good rationale and means a lot.
In the 60s, there were a couple of traveling heroes on television, Todd and Buzz. They were traveling literate heroes looking for adventure in a series that did not have a lot of crime, a lot of car chases and shootouts. It had a lot of human emotion, a lot of drama. And our guest today, Mr. Ed Asner, appeared in several fine episodes from that
5 or 6
series. One of them, one of my favorite episodes, as a matter of fact, was called The Mud Nest, filmed in Maryland. It had Lon Chaney Jr. and Betty Field reunited from Of Mice and Men. George Maharis was in that town, and there was a resemblance. He thought that they were probably part of his family. He was an orphan in the series. What a great show that was.
Yeah. I flew in with Lon. We filmed it in Baltimore. I flew in with him, and he and Betty had appeared in Of Mice and Men together originally. And he brought in the Levi's he wore in the show, and he called her on the phone, and he was so eager to put on his Levi's, which he wore in the show, and to work with her in the show. And they never got together. Unfortunately, they were in different scenes. They had no contact with each other, and she was busy running around doing something or other. They never saw each other, and he was a lovely man. And I was very unhappy at the outcome of this reunion.
Yes, that didn't come off. You worked with George Maharis in a feature film also.
Right.
He's a real good actor, but I recall during the making of the series Route 66, he was always the rebellion, always demanding better scripts. Was that tension noticeable on the set?
Oh, yeah. I did about 5 or 6 of them, as I said, I can't remember. And it was always amazing to me to get a call to do a Route 66, because I thought after the last one, they could not possibly have continued. But I'd go there and I'd find that the situation was worse than ever. The scripts were later than ever. And it was a phenomenal operation to bring off a quality show as they did, with the phenomenal distances and logistics that were required. It's phenomenal that it was as good as it was. On
the road like that, yet Sterling Silliphant was a story consultant, made it a wonderful program. Wish we had more time to talk about it. Thank you for joining us.
More shows like that.
Or more shows like that. Perhaps yours will be.
Give me some wood.
Yesterday on Stardom, we were talking with Ed Asner about his work on Route 66, which was not only a class show, it was a very popular show. Another program that had those same qualities was Quinn Martin's The Fugitive with David Jansen. Ed Asner, the busy character actor, appeared in several of those as well. The Quinn Martin production staff, he tries to go first class all the time.
He's always a phenomenon. Most of his shows have had a high standard of quality. Untouchables, FBI, a number of others. But they've always had a special mark of distinction to them.
What do you remember about working on The Fugitive? David Jansen has so much charisma that seemed to carry that haunted, wanted man effect across into the TV audience, so that they really cared about Dr. Richard Kimball.
That's an enormously popular show. And the thing about David Jansen, I must say, is that he's phenomenally humorous and charming off camera. A wonderful sense of humor, which, of course, that show never showed due to the doom and gloom that it operated out of. And concerning my work on it, that was my great period. I rarely, if ever, on the 3 or 4 shows I did on Fugitive, have anything to exult in the characters I portrayed. One was a crippled ex-football player, as I recall, who had turned out, who had gone to school with Richard Anderson, Jansen was driving, chauffeuring him around. He had a temporary gig chauffeuring him. And I was out to bump him off because of my resentment that he had become successful, I had become crippled.
Well, those programs like that, you say it was your gray period where you were doing characterizations that were one or two dimensional rather than a lot of depth. Did you ever get so disgusted that you wanted to try and do something else?
No, as long as I was making money, that phase didn't bother me. I certainly wasn't going to turn my back on it. But I must say that there was no joy in acting for me there. I'd concentrate on my garden, my hillside garden.
Well, the joy in acting seems to be there now.
You bet your bippy it is.
And you bet your bippy we'll be back with Ed Asner on tomorrow's Stardom. He never did too many westerns, but he did make one with James Garner called The Skin Game. His name is Ed Asner, and you may have remembered him bouncing around on the horse.
Well put.
As a slave trader.
Yeah.
Sold for $400.
Well, you had no call sell me off that way, Moss Quincy. I never done did you no fast.
The title of that film, Skin Game, while it was a great comedy, the title is misleading.
I think a lot of people who didn't go to the trouble of looking below the title thought it was a porno flick, I think. And it was a marvelous film, and I'm very proud of having been in it. It had 30, 40 of the best character actors in Hollywood in it, and the performances by Susan Clark, by James Garner, and above all, Louis Gossett.
Fabulous.
Now of recent fame and Roots in the Deep, were marvelous. It was a marvelous picture, and the only place I talked to people who saw it was on airplanes. So I think it was distributed abominably.
It's a shame. They tried to make a pilot from it, too, because the concept was so good.
Right.
The pilot didn't quite come off.
I didn't see it, so I don't remember.
But it's Lou Grant that has made you really a household name.
Right.
Does the sudden stardom that took place with you, the celebrity, has that changed your home life, your personal life very much?
Oh, sure. I mean, the demands on my time are enormous and ever increasing. I have to make more decisions as to yes here, no there. I'm glad I said to yes here.
So am I.
Yeah, thank you. But it's made a big boy out of me. Before, I was so delighted to be wanted, to be invited, that I couldn't say no to any of them. And I would say that I've grown up a little and know that I can only have so much time with my family, and I'm able to say no now, and I think they enjoy the fact they see more of me perhaps now than they did before.
A television series is a very grueling, time-consuming affair with an hour-long program bearing your name now.
My pseudonym.
Your pseudonym.
Yeah.
Isn't that going to take a lot more of your time?
I'm very worried about that, and I can only hope that the quality of time away from it that I give to my family is of even a higher nature than what I gave before, to maintain that connection with them.
Well, thank you for joining us this week on Stardom.
Thank you.
In a change-of-pace role of a doctor doing his best to keep the lid on a red-hot ghetto. Mary Tyler Moore, dedicated to her calling, but at heart a woman. Barbara McNair, famous pop singer, in a new kind of role. And introducing lovely Jane Elliott.
We're going to reach these people. We've got to be accepted first as women, then as nuns. Please don't.
I get a feeling there's a message here. Like maybe there's somebody else.
You could say that, yes.
An idealistic doctor and three sisters of mercy doing their thing in a tough city jungle, facing situations hard to cope with. Romance beyond their bounds and the madness of our times.
Late parties, profane music till all hours. Forsaking the habit was one thing, but now you're not even dressed like females.
Father.
I've had enough of you. I want you out of my parish.
Father, we've done nothing to be ashamed of.
So let us pray together, sing together, sing together.
Stop the music! In honor of San Juan de Chaguez, all debts to the banker are hereby canceled.
Sure do like trouble, Irene.
Lucky for you, you're wearing that gunny sack, Dinge.
Well, don't let that stop you. You small-time gorilla.
I'm just gonna lay all my cards on the table. This place can slow you down, you know what I mean?
I wish there were an easy answer.
Let's try to find a way, Michelle.
Could he change her life? Could she forget her vows and follow her heart?